Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Charlie.
Uh, Same here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited. I'm gonna ask everybody out there in the land of YouTube, how do we sound right now? Is our volume good? Do we need to come up a little bit? You tell us real quick before we get started. Looks like we got a few people here. Hey, what's up, S. Alva? Good to see you. And like I said in the comment section, we'll get to everybody's questions kind of in order as you post them. So just post them in the chat, and then we'll try to take pauses throughout the stream to answer a few of them for you guys. All right. Let's see. Audio good, everybody? Audio good out there? Looks like we got someone here that says audio is good. Already getting some good questions coming in. All right, cool. All right, sweet. So the live stream audience knows, Charlie, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to where you are at today? How did you get started with McIntosh, the most legendary, American audio brand in history? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. It's pretty simple. I started out as a co-op student from Rochester Institute of Technology. Co-op means it's mandatory to complete your work experience to get your electrical engineering degree from RIT. So it was school 10 weeks, work 10 weeks, school 10 weeks, work 10 weeks for a period of 3 years on top of your associate's degree. And I was fortunate enough to do all of it at McIntosh. After graduating, obviously went into the R&D side, spent 18 years in product development. 2 of those years were VP of engineering. And then the last 18 years has been president of McIntosh Laboratories.
That's so cool. So, what does that look like? The day in your life of being the president of McIntosh Laboratories.
Day in the life is, obviously it's got a lot of challenges. Anytime when you're manufacturing all of your products, you've got a lot of different supply chain issues. Everything has to come together, at a certain time. We're managing 7,000 active part numbers,
Wow.
which, as you can imagine, currently it's quite the challenge. Our business is really good, and obviously other people's business is good too, and we're fighting for the same product availability basically when you're talking about transistors, resistors, diodes, that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, I bet that especially over the last couple of years, that's probably become super challenging. I imagine.
yeah.
So when you're not working, what do you do for fun? Like, what do you enjoy when you're not working? I know you're working a lot,
um,
but I mean, what do you do when you're not? How do you let loose?
yeah, I'm an outdoors person, both from a hunting, fishing aspect to camping, that type of thing, and probably a hobby outside of what I have to do for work is listen to audio. Is I love to build things. I've done a lot of my own construction projects around my house, whether it be building docks or decks or even in some cases garages. And on top of that, I collect classic cars and love to work on them and
Oh,
do a lot of the work myself. So
that's
I'm up to
awesome.
nine classic cars. So
Oh boy, what's your favorite? I gotta ask, because I'm a big classic car fan, because I'm a photographer and a videographer also, and I photograph one of the biggest classic car events in the nation out here on the West Coast in Reno, Hot August Nights every year, and I just love that week. So I gotta, what's your favorite classic car that you own?
the favorite one, obviously they're all favorites, but the most
Sure.
favorites the '67 GTO.
Sweet. Awesome. That's cool. I love it. Cool. All right, so let's see here. So tell me, Charlie, like, what was your first significant, memorable hi-fi movement, like that you were listening to and you were like, wow? And then have you been able to recreate that hi-fi moment over the years many times or in certain scenarios? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the the first moment of, obviously everybody gets to experience stereos and you hang out with friends and stuff like that. But my real first, you know, high end inception to really good sound was the day I walked into McIntosh. I mean, I thought I knew what good sound was. Did a lot of install of car stereo for friends and myself, growing up. And you were always trying to, outdo the next guy, starting at the age of 16. And then, I was 19 when I got to come to McIntosh and thought I knew what good stereo equipment was until I sat in the listening room here and got to hear 7270 and the company's first CD player, that was just coming on the market, and a pair of McIntosh loudspeakers, and I was just totally, totally blown away.
That's kind of the way I felt the first trip down to the Source Audio Video Design Group when I went down there for a weekend to film. And of course, while I'm filming, I'm listening to everything. And I was just like, this place is like Disneyland for a hi-fi enthusiast. I was just like, or home cinema enthusiast. Like I was like every room. I was like,
Yeah.
I could spend 2 weeks here just listening and watching stuff. It's so much fun. So
I mean, obviously the experience is the biggest thrill that you get from, the selling aspect of any high end audio equipment really is, you can look at a brochure, you can look at a website, but until you really get to sit down and listen and form your own opinion is really when you're going to be blown away.
I agree. And it's fun also when you're demoing stuff for people to just watch their eyes light up, or their foot start tapping or their head start, nodding, and you get the energy and you feel that they're feeling what you feel, and you're like, that is also so rewarding. I love that part of it also. Do
Yeah,
you have
we've
a Oh, go ahead.
no, I said we've even done events, to the end public. It could be like Wine Spectator Festival, that type of thing. But we've had ladies say to their husband, if you had this in the bedroom, you might even you can fill in the rest, right?
That's awesome. Wife approval factor is very important. I love that.
something about the blue meters and the sound, I think. So.
That's awesome. Speaking of sound, do you have a favorite band or genre of music that you love and you find yourself listening to more than another, or constantly being drawn back to?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm just working around the house or sitting on the back patio, it's going to be country music. It's my heritage. Where I grew up on a dairy farm, so my father listened to it. It's near and dear to my heart. Obviously, I like classic rock too. Um, Today's country is basically yesterday's classic rock, kind of, sort of.
Totally, yeah.
Um, and from a work aspect, we listen to everything we have to. Um, you know, Primarily just because we're listening for problems, but also listening for clarity and all the good things that you need to be aware of when designing product and getting ready to release the product.
Do you guys have some favorite test tracks or, performers that you like to utilize when you're testing and listening?
Yeah, we use it's a pretty wide variety, but to you know the hardest vocal to reproduce is really female vocal. Um, Nothing against the ladies, but their voice really kind of sits between the mid range and the tweeter, and that's always a careful point of where do you cross over, hence speaker crossover to
Right.
to get that as smooth as possible. So probably we probably listen to more female vocal in that regard when we're tuning speakers. As far as like listening for um, on amplifier characteristics and stuff like that, it's everything. Can even be some really deep rap music or, even deep bongles, because obviously you want to see what the bass response is going to be like, which is really where the limitations of a power supply, come into play.
Yeah, that's awesome. Since I'm a massive fan of the Grateful Dead, I even wore my shirt today, I just for this stream, and they were the first band I ever saw live in concert. I was like, gosh, I was like 14. I shouldn't have actually been able to go to that concert, but I did, and so I got to ask, since I'm a big fan, have you spoken to any of the former bandmates or Bob recently, or do you guys have anything cool, fun planned with them coming up?
Yeah, so Bob Weir is obviously a big advocate of the brand and a really good friend of the brand. We've done quite a bit of work with him in the past, and then I had the opportunity in 2012. We um, sponsored the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because the top floor they change out every year, and in 2012 it was Grateful Dead, and so they recreated the Wall of Sound. Of course, obviously a lot of McIntosh amplifiers were going to be there, and pictures of the McIntosh. So we opted in to sponsor, and then we gifted all the inductees into the Hall of Fame that year a piece of McIntosh product. And we were very fortunate to get to meet Mickey Hart as well,
Wow.
drummer, who's a huge McIntosh fan. And then at our townhouse, I want to say that was probably 2019, or yeah, it was 2019, right before the COVID. We did a Fire on the Mountain with some artists, and there was a surfer and a skier and stuff like that. They recreated that, and Mickey was part of it, so he was down there. So I got to speak with him again, and he's always very conscientious and very thankful for what McIntosh was to them, all during the touring days of the Grateful Dead.
That's cool. And so we were chatting a little bit before we started the stream, and you were saying you picked up some original amplifiers. Tell us a little bit about that for the viewers watching.
Yeah, one of our end customers here in Binghamton, he actually turned me on to it. I'm not a one to watch eBay all that often, and he says, "Check this out." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" That they were still even out there. And there was a buy it now button. We clicked buy it now, and we ended up with two of the Hanley sound amplifiers, McIntosh 3500s, that powered Woodstock. So after, well, Woodstock was 1969, so going on 53 years, these amplifiers are finally back home. So we'll put them on display here in our lobby as a cool history piece. And we actually, I got to meet Bill Hanley down at Woodstock, or Bethel Woods. Obviously some trademark rights there as to why it's called Bethel Woods now. But anyway, we did
Right.
an open discussion panel, and I got to ask Bill the question, why didn't you use more amplifiers, or how did you know that was going to be enough amplifiers? And he leaned over to me and he said, "It's all the money I had." So, in other words, because if you think about it, what they probably expected was maybe 30,000 people, and obviously it was way out of control beyond that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I saw a pretty cool documentary on it. I can't remember if it was on Netflix or somewhere, but it was pretty awesome. So, yeah,
yeah,
and there was just so many people. They just couldn't contain the amount of people that they had or weren't prepared for it. It's pretty interesting.
yep.
Let's see. So we know a little bit about how you got started with Macintosh Laboratories, but you started. You're like a true American success story. You started kind of towards. I don't remember exactly, but you really worked your way up to where you're at. So you're not just an individual that was already running other large companies, and you came over with a resume and said, "Oh, we're going to hire this guy." You really are Macintosh. Can you tell us where you started, and then you know the amount of time it took to get to where you're at, and when you knew you're like, I want to run this, I want to do this.
So, well, um, so when I joined it, well, when I was a co-op student, I worked in the what was called the calibration and um, maintenance lab for all the test equipment. So our job was to basically keep every piece of equipment that tested the product in calibration, and we had a certified standard, um, different things to check out these instruments with. And then the other part of our job was actually building the test equipment. And when I say test equipment, more the interface boxes to test either a circuit board or do the final test. So load resistors, even the big power controller variacs, we built internally. And then when I graduated, actually when I left as a co-op, I told Larry Fish, my boss at the time, he was actually VP of engineering, and I told him, I said, if there's an opening, when I graduate in May, I'd be really interested in coming to work. And fortunately enough, the guy that ran the calibration and maintenance, he moved on, and I moved in. And from there, it was obviously taking care of the calibration lab in the beginning. That lasted about 2 years. Then I got assigned with Ron Evans, who's very famous power amplifier design engineer, who's retired now. But I got to work with him for roughly about 3 years, being what they call as a junior engineer, and then ultimately just started doing power amplifiers. And then around 1991, 92 is when Clarion bought us, and then I went on to develop all the car amplifiers along with Ron Evans. We'd never done a car amp before, so that was quite the learning experience. But we actually did a really good job. I mean, we nailed it. We came out of the gate swinging pretty hard, and really won a lot of the contests for IASC and stuff like that. Just on our pure power. And then from there, Larry, he retired, and it was time to make a decision on who would be VP of engineering. It selected me as far as the uh, president at the time for McIntosh. And then the company had a little bit of difficulty throughout the years, during basically the 90 time frame. A lot of changes with the president at the top. It was difficult for Clarion to find a person that could really understand the people and understand the brand. And it was the first time they decided to promote within. So after 2 years of running the engineering department, they asked me to, be the president of McIntosh. And that's basically where I've been ever since.
That's cool. I love that. I love anytime a large company can promote from within, just because the people understand the culture, that have worked there for a long time, and I think that's always the best scenario in most cases. So that's really cool
Yeah, and
story.
if you think about the culture of the company, I mean, it was founded by engineers. I mean,
Yeah,
both Mr. Mack was an engineer, and really had all of his experience came out of the military with sound reinforcement for GI clubs. Basically, was one of his um, assignments in the military, and when he got out, it was basically build a better amplifier. He knew there was a need for it, for bigger sound, larger venues, even for home audio, lower distortion, that type of stuff. And so it's always been a technological driven company, and obviously product is key. That's why we release on average about 14 products per year.
that's huge. What do you think the draw is for engineers to HiFi? Because I mean, Jason from TSAV, he's an engineer. He's got engineering background. and then I have a lot of
Yep.
buddies that are just, audio enthusiasts that they have different type of engineering degree. They're in a whole different field, but they're extremely into hi-fi. What do you think that connection is for engineers and hi-fi?
I think I think hi-fi you can draw a relationship. I mean, engineers are obviously technical people, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what aspect of engineering, mechanical, electrical, civil, whatever. Um, I think they're always looking to the the next best thing, whether it's in their job or like Jason, I know very well. Obviously, he's very technical. He's always looking for better sound, whether it be in the store, but he also loves cars and he's always
Yeah.
wanting to go faster, right? I
Yep.
think it's just, I think it's inherent in our DNA or our blood, for people to want to do that, and especially when you're more technical, where you can understand what makes what happen. You're gonna gravitate to that, and hi-fi is one of those things, right? Speakers especially, it's all about the materials. How light's the material, how you know amplifier, how quick a response. That's all in the SOA character or the characteristics of the transistor. And obviously the power supply is a big part of it too. So you know,
Definitely.
I just we just like to understand what makes things tick, right? So, and it's whatever we can find that makes it tick faster, we're all for it.
I like it. Very cool. So let's go on to the next question. Knowing that this is going to come up probably, and I've already seen it a couple times in the live chat, let's get it out of the way so we can answer it for everybody else. And then we can focus on some of the new products that you guys released and some of your other products too as well. So prices have been going up pretty much from everyone in the hi-fi industry. Being in the industry myself, I get it. I understand. And I know why manufacturers need to increase, their prices. But for our viewers at home, can you maybe explain to all the investments that McIntosh has made recently, the growth, the development, and some of the other reasons why prices are needing to be, raised by McIntosh and other companies?
Yeah, I mean the major driver right now, obviously, is you know cost of componentry has risen, cost of labor has risen, um, only because you know if you take a manufacturing sector, I don't care where you are in the United States, there's only a certain pool that you can pull from. And when the manufacturing's when the economy's good, obviously, you know, manufacturing, the need for those people go up. So basically, you're competing for the same mind share, same people, and you gotta be willing to pay to get the good people. We're fortunate where the company is located. It's a very high tech area. I mean, at one point, IBM employed 18,000 people here. It's not the case anymore because they moved the headquarters. IBM started here, basically.
Right.
British Aerospace is here in a big way. Lockheed Martin. So there is a high tech, both from us being able to attract engineers, but also manufacturing folks as well. And we're competitive. We take very good care of the people. Our average tenure of the employee is in the manufacturing area is around 15 years. That's down a little bit now, only because we've had to hire new people.
Sure.
And when I say hire new people, add more people because the business is up. So the but the cost side of it, we've been able to hold costs or hold our prices right up until January 1st. A lot of people reacted much faster than we did,
Yeah.
and it's because of we do a lot of our processes in house, so we're not buying sheet metal from outside. We buy the raw sheet metal, but we're doing all of our own stamping, painting, silk screening, that type of stuff. So when you control more of your process, you can actually control prices longer, which is what we were able to do. Um, but and if you look at it, McIntosh hadn't done a price increase for in in the domestic market. I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And when you take McIntosh, especially like the 2 channel type products, amplifiers, they stay in the line 6, 7 years. So we're not transitioning SKUs. So if you think about, you know, a car that you bought 4 years ago, you're not going to buy for the same price today. So
Right. And we have one question that kind of relates from I don't know, a bunch of numbers. He says, or she, I don't know. It says, please explain delivery schedule challenges. So have you seen more challenges also? I know just shipping alone right now with the carriers. In fact, just even getting the Sonos Faber speakers in my house, we're going to talk about a little later. I mean, this is just challenging. Carriers don't have enough drivers right now. It's hard for them to meet schedules. So there's that component, I know for sure. But are there any other challenges for that question from the live chat?
yeah, so from a delivery schedule challenge, freight wise really isn't impacting us much on the outbound side. It's more on the inbound side. We have to lots of times use next day air just because our suppliers that we do use outside, they're busy. They can't keep up. They can't meet our delivery schedule. So it's just a snowball effect in that regard. Um, our backlog is running about 3 months. A lot of our competitors is running more like 6 months.
Yeah.
We know this from facts, and again, it's because we can control the processes inside, and the demand is up. I'm not going to lie to you. Right now, currently, in 2020, we were producing about 1,400 units per month, and this is just on the electronic side.
Wow.
Not counting the speaker side. Right now, we're approaching 1,800 units a month, and
Wow.
we still haven't been able to change the delivery schedule from basically less than 3 months. So if a person orders today, it's pretty clear that you're going to wait, 2 to 3 months, 2 months on the short side, 3 months on the long side, unless there's an underlying issue. Vacuum tubes are getting very difficult to get right now. The demand is up, and obviously they're a very small supplier, and there's very few suppliers as well. And most people that know vacuum tubes, one of the big suppliers is in Russia, and obviously we are very scared as to what that could mean in the future. So
I had a feeling that might come up today because I was thinking about that last night, and I was like, do I go buy extra tubes right now for all my stuff? Like knowing that,
wait until I get the ones I need first, okay?
I'll let you order first. Okay, let's switch gears to this awesome little guy here. So, I know that many audio enthusiasts who enjoy hi-fi also enjoy personal audio and listening through headphones, and they were extremely excited about this headphone amplifier. And I obviously have one in house. It's Jason sent it over as soon as I started working for TSAV, and it's become one of my reference for all my headphone, videos or presentations. And I absolutely love this headphone amplifier. So what did you guys learn through the process? You guys have made obviously, your other components have headphone amplifiers on them, and you've had some other dedicated ones, but this was kind of like I believe your first true tube amplifier dedicated for headphones. What did you guys learn through that process? Anything you would do differently, from what you've learned through putting this product out? And do you think maybe we can expect another version of this? Maybe something based around like a KT88 power tube or another power tube in the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we learned quite a bit. If you go back to the early days of preamps when they were vacuum tube, we were actually doing vacuum tube headphone amps inside of those as well,
Yeah,
right? So
totally. Yep.
so it wasn't new to us. I think the unique thing we've been able to do is because of the output transformer and our years and years and years of experience with that, all the way back to, you know, day one of the birth of the company. That type of technology that we can put on, the output of the vacuum tube and be able to match impedances, I think is really the thing we learned the most around the vacuum tube. Obviously, we do it in our solid state version too, but obviously the solid state version is not as important as the vacuum tube side because the vacuum tubes they can't drive low impedances, so you really need the output transformer to drive some of the headphones if people are going to gravitate to the lower impedance type headphone. To do a bigger version, and I probably wouldn't use the KT88, even though it's the preferred audio file. The issue with the KT88 is just one pair of them. You could really do damage to your hearing and also do damage to the headphone. The headphone's not set up to carry that amount of power. Obviously, we could dumb it down.
Sure.
But really, why would you want to burn power inside the unit when you should be driving a pair of speakers? But
Right.
now there's lots of cool features that we're thinking about for Gen 2, for the MHA200, or call it the MHA300. But it's a ways off right now. We're enjoying the success of this one. It's very popular.
I love it. And it's like, I mean, it's the ideal size if you don't have a ton of space. I mean, just to give you a reference, this is an Apple keyboard without the numbers. I mean, it you can fit it anywhere. Like, which is
Yeah.
something I really love about it because I have reviewed a ton of different headphone amplifiers and generally they're massive. And so you'd have to like really clear a ton of space for them. Whereas this can fit pretty much anywhere and it's quiet. There is no noise floor. I mean, quiet. So that's the other thing. There's a lot of, tube amplifiers that I have got to hear in audition and generally hear some hum or there's some subtle noise floor on, different amplifiers that I've tried. There's no noise floor on this whatsoever. I mean, it's like a solid state quiet, but with the extra love that the tubes provide, which is really cool. So you guys did a great job. I know that
Thank you.
the only thing that I think that people gripe about, like if you go onto HiFi, is just the volume control. That's the biggest thing. So, and I explained to people when I did my, video presentation of it that it's more designed for, unity gain purpose and you can use it with a preamplifier. But I think the headphone community hasn't really adapted to that concept yet because they're used to, a volume control. You know what I mean? So,
Exactly. Yeah,
that it's
it's
just
it's not a volume control. It's a level control, which
right.
is completely different, right? So
Yep.
that would be one of the things we look to for Gen 2.
Cool. Very cool. Awesome. Let's see. Oh, so kind of a follow up. As far as when you guys were putting this guy together, is there certain headphones that you guys use? Maybe that, out there, some of our audience might be like, well, oh, that's cool. I own those. Or any headphones you tested with this that you were, you guys remember that you were using?
Oh boy, there was a bunch of them because the way we do product development, and when I say product development, more around the product planning aspect. There's a bunch of the sales guys that are involved, product managers. There's two of them, the engineers. So I would have to get you a list just to. But I know, for instance, Sennheiser was in there. Uddies, McIntosh, the original MHP 1000s,
Yeah.
Sony for sure, Grado. Um, there's probably 20 different headphones just to put it in perspective for you.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Okay, so let's shift to gears again a little bit and let's talk a bit about a product I'm really looking forward to getting into the house for review, the MA12000 hybrid integrated amplifier. I love that this has a 12A X7A preamplifier tube for you get some flavor in there, and then you have 8-band tone control, which is cool because there's a lot of products out there that you just get no options. But sometimes you want a little bit of tone control depending on your room. You know, I mean, I have room treatment because I do this for a living,
Yeah,
but not everybody has room treatment. So tone control can really help with some of those issues. Um, and then you also have, you know, a high powered 350 watt per channel amplifier. So you got some serious grunt there. Can you talk a little bit about the process of bringing this product to market and, you know, what are some things you're really proud of about it?
yeah, sure. When you integrated serve a purpose for a couple different reasons. One, maybe it's your first entry into Mac, and you're looking to save costs versus doing separates, or space is a premium, right? And as about 50% of our business is in the U.S., 50% is outside the U.S. And integrateds obviously are very popular in crowded residential areas. Hong Kong, for instance, New York City, San Francisco, where they all are. So the integrated, fits the bill there. What we've learned since kind of going back into the vacuum tube business during the 90s, our number one selling preamp power amp combination right now is you can amplifiers. It's either 462 or a pair of 611s. The 611s get it because you have to buy a pair. But 462 and C20000 is a great combination, and it's what customers gravitate to that really want to hear the warmth of vacuum tube, but maybe you're not ready to want to maintain a vacuum tube amplifier. I mean, KT88s, eventually you have to change them, right?
Yep.
And some people they just don't want to deal with that, so they'll go halfway and buy basically a hybrid system, a tube preamp and a solid state amplifier. And we said, and this goes for the MA252 and the 352 and the 12,000. We said, let's combine them into one, and let's get somebody into McIntosh on the entry level tube preamp side, but also let's do it at the really high end. And both are wildly successful, meaning the 352, 252. They sell as well as the MA12000. Those three models are my number one selling integrated platform right now. And it's because you've got, kind of the best of both worlds. You got vacuum tube on the pre side, and you got, solid state on the amplification side. And obviously, the 12,000 is a behemoth. 350 watts of power is a lot of power for your typical loudspeaker. Of course,
Yep.
you're talking to you're talking to a company that makes a 2,000 watt amplifier,
Yeah.
but it's 350 for your starter system is a lot of power.
That's a lot. That'll blow me right out of my couch or listening chair. That's great.
Yeah.
um, let's see. So Ricky has a question from the chat, and it's actually kind of related. So we'll put this up here. He asks, is MA12000 comparable to combination of C8 and MC462, especially because they're in relatively the same price category? If you have to spend your money on those, which one will you pick? Thanks, Ricky, for that question.
I think from that standpoint, it comes down to me personally. I like separates only because, as probably most of the viewers or listeners know, McIntosh retains its value. So you can always start off with something and decide you want to upgrade the preamp or upgrade the power amp. It's easier to sell off the preamp and buy the next preamp, the better preamp, or same thing with the power amp. As far as performance wise, obviously, when you have everything in one chassis, your signal noise ratios and stuff like that, if you really look at the specifications, you're going to gain a little bit more from separates because you don't have the high gain of the preamp sitting next to the power amp, especially when they're in two separate boxes. So that's always one thing to consider as well. But from a convenience standpoint, the integrated is going to win hand down, especially if there's a life acceptance factor involved, where how many pieces of product you're allowed in the living room. So
Which is a real thing. We all know
it's a real
so
thing. It's a real thing.
it is a real thing. So that kind of leads into the next is the C12000 solid state and vacuum tube preamplifier. So instead of putting everything in one chassis, you and your team decided to have a controller unit and a preamplifier for the best possible audio quality. The design aesthetics on these are awesome. All your design aesthetics are awesome, but I really love that you can see at the top, the phono stage, the tubes at the top. I mean, I just love tubes. So, I mean,
Yeah.
anybody that's seen any of my videos, like solid state's great, and I have nothing against it. I love solid state too, but tubes are my flavor. So, anytime you can put tubes on display, I really love that. I think it's fantastic. Can you talk to us a bit about those units?
Yeah. So I mean, we've been doing the two box preamp solution for quite a while now, and but the main reason for doing it is, the one box has got all the power supply and all the digital circuitry to, ramp up the volume controls and um, all that kind of good stuff. Do the switching of the preamp. So we keep that separate, kind of like what I just explained with the C8 462. The more you can keep, the noisy stuff away from the audio circuits, the better you are, and keep the high gain stuff separate from the power amp. You're better off as well. So in this case, the really unique feature of the C12000 compared to what we've done before, we've offered where you could choose vacuum tube or solid state or use both. This time we put it all into one chassis and offered both solid state and vacuum tube. And people say, well, what would you use that for? And if you think about it, if you've got one CD player and you want to listen to, let's say, jazz on vacuum tube and maybe orchestra music on vacuum tube, but yet your more popular contemporary musics, you want to listen to solid state, you can actually hook your CD player up to two inputs. When you can assign one input to come out the vacuum tube side and one input to come out the solid state side, and the preamp automatically does the switching for you. So you basically now you've combined a great solid state preamplifier and a great vacuum tube preamplifier into one chassis, going to your choice of amplifier, either vacuum tube or solid state. In this case, I would probably choose solid state because you've got the vacuum tube side of the pre and the solid state side of the pre as well. So it gives you the best of both worlds. And obviously performance factor is crazy because it's in the two box solution.
And what is your ideal pairing for amplifier in your opinion for those units?
I'm a power guy, so I mean 2 kW is a little extreme. I would go 1.25K with the C12000, and then obviously you gotta have speakers to handle it. But I think the most important thing is with McIntosh, no matter what power amplifier you pick, even in the integrateds, the amplifier topology is identical. It literally is. You can take the drive circuit from any amplifier and drop it into any one of them. And really, it's just the number of output transistors that we put on the back of it. Obviously, the size of the power transformer that gives you the difference in power. But you're not, if 300 watts is enough and that's all you're going to use, 1.25K, you're probably never going to hit 1200 watts. So, buy the 462. But you really do need the reserve if you like to listen to, dynamic recordings. So one of my favorite ones is Dire Straits' "Money for Nothing."
Oh, love that.
We use it a lot, and basically, if you got a Mac preamp and you set the volume level to call it 50%, and it's on a 1.25K, and you watch it, the lead in of the song, it's going to start off playing at maybe 20 watts, between 2 and 20 watts. By the time you're done, you're gonna basically get up the power guard on the 1.25K without touching the volume control, and that's really why you want the power reserve. It's no different than a car. You can get the point A or point B with a 4-cylinder, or you can get the point A or point B with an 8-cylinder. But when you need to get out of somebody's way, you're going to want the 8-cylinder, right?
You got
So,
it. Yeah, you have the ability to. That's
yeah,
cool. I like that. I love that album. That whole album was recorded so well. It just I was actually listening to it last night on the Olympica Nova 5s, and I was just
yeah,
like awestruck. I was like, "Oh, this sounds so good." I think a lot of different manufacturers will utilize uh, tracks from Dire Straits just because they were so well produced and so well recorded and they're so well played and they have so much dynamic range like you're saying, so you can actually really hone in products when you have such a good recording. So let's see here. Okay, cool. Oh, one other question. So speaking of speakers, I guess, so for these different amplifiers, preamplifiers, and integrated amplifiers, are there, obviously you have McIntosh speakers, obviously you have Sonus Faber. So what speakers do you primarily run through the testing phase for the different power amplifiers, integrated or preamps?
yeah. So we'll use it. Actually, we'll even use some other brands that I won't mention, only because we want to be conscientious of everything that sells alongside of
Sure.
Macintosh. Obviously, we don't want to do damage to something our dealers are trying to promote to sell our amplifier and vice versa. The
Sure.
um, but typically we'll pair you know um, Macintosh here. We've got two listening rooms. One that you can consider 2-channel, and the other one more home theater, even though it's all set up to be 2-channel anyway. The home theater is the big one. We use XRT 1Ks. We'll use different, basically the whole range of Sans Faber. And then we have, a limited range of floor standards. But Macintosh is typically known for the big line arrays. So, we're up XRT 1.1Ks in the engineering listening room. And then here in there's 2 buildings at the facility. R&D's in their own building across the parking lot, and manufacturing and offices are here in the main building. But we have a 28 seat theater that's, I don't know, 20,000 watts of power.
Wow.
3 McIntosh MC2KWs across the front. The subs are passive and they're driven with 6 1.25 kWs, and then we use 462s for the surrounds and the God channels. And so anything we want to put to the test goes in that room, either whether it be speaker wise and or amplifier wise for torture, if you can call it, lack of a better word. And then
Yeah.
for the real audio screening, that's done in the R&D lab, in the more gentleman's looking 2-channel listening room.
Sounds like I gotta plan a trip to come see you guys eventually and check out these rooms. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, anybody prior to COVID, anybody can come and used to be able to come and visit. We'd do 6 to 8 end customer tours on average a week. These aren't dealers; these are customers that really just want to come see, how the product's made, and that's near and dear to our heart. And we had to stop that, during COVID. And we're hoping things stay a little bit more calmer this year, and we can get back to that. So anybody listening, keep an eye on our website. When we open it back up, there'll be a big post up there.
Well, and Barry, I just popped it up on the screen. Barry had asked that question about factory tours as well. So there you go, Barry. Now you know. Keep an eye on the website. And
Hopefully this summer.
there you go. I would love to come out and check it out. That'd be awesome. All right, let's see here. All right, so we are at. So you had recently several new products released and announced. Can you tell us about some of the new products you guys had announced most recently?
Yeah, so the most current ones are the 2 integrateds. We'll start with them guys. MA95 100 and 8950. Those are transition pieces for 8900 and MA9000. Um, the major performance or feature change in that is we went from what was known as the DA1 to the DA2. So it's got, you know, better USB audio, better DAC, does the high res, DXD, um, all those cool performance factors. But then in the core heart of the integrated, very similar to what we did when we transitioned all the solid state amplifiers about 3-4 years ago. We did a lot of work around the power supply. And if you don't know what the real advantage of the power supply is, especially when you're listening to low frequencies, so anything with bass up to about 120 hertz, um, the transformer really has nothing to do with it. It's all in the filter capacitors. Very similar to like car audio. You need to keep that 12 volts up there so the amplifier doesn't sag. And so we doubled the filter capacitors and all the power amplifiers over the redo of going from 452 to 462 from 1.2K to 1.25K. Those were the major enhancements, and we did that also in the integrated. So you're going to notice anybody that goes from like an 8900 to an 8950, you're going to hear a pretty big performance increase, especially around the snappiness of the low end. And obviously with that you get better dynamic range, and obviously the damping factor goes up because you can hold more for longer.
Very cool. All right, I'm gonna chime into the audience out there watching the stream. So, because there's always a little delay with YouTube, so if you have questions, start dropping them in now, and then in a moment I'm gonna go back through and I'm gonna try to get around to everybody's question. But just kind of a little warning to get your questions in now so we don't miss you. Okay, so what does the future hold for McIntosh Group and McIntosh Labs? Obviously, you've just announced 3 new products. I would expect maybe some more throughout this year. Are there any segments of customers that are really important to you that you want to expand on maybe over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think I mean we've always um, been available for custom installation. And when I say available, it's mostly picking and choosing from the current line. But over the last 2 years here, we've made a pretty big push, especially around the amplification side, and then also around the streaming side. Um, we used to be utilizing the DTS PlayFi configuration for like MB50 and use that in our wireless products, RS150 or sorry, RS100 and RS200. We've gone away from that. Now we're purely a Cast2 device. So basically, we don't have to rely on any services or another platform provider um, inside the box. So really, whatever device that you like to access your music through, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, you name it, it's as simple as casting to it. And we released 2 products, the RS150 and the RS250, right at the end of 2021. Wildly successful. And it's because they are a Cast2 device, much easier to use than the previous platform. And then we'll be introducing a standalone version of that for the people that want to be able to stream to their big system. Those 2 devices are wireless speakers, for lack of a better word. One is stereo, one is just a speaker mono. The Cast2 device is more like your typical McIntosh product that will sit in the rack with the rest of your gear. And the reason why we don't embed this kind of stuff into integrateds and or preamplifiers is, the technology is changing quickly. So
Yeah.
this way you can either leave it in as we move along or transition to the next piece, or if it becomes obsolete, you're not throwing away a whole preamp or power amp.
That makes sense.
Or integrated stuff.
Yeah, that's logical. That makes sense. Let's see. Okay, cool. G- Great stuff. Let's go to our live chat. And everybody out there viewing, if you haven't already, smash the like button for us. Show your appreciation for this gentleman here spending time with us today. We definitely appreciate it from the TSAV team, and we're obviously huge lovers of McIntosh, you know. So thank you so much again. Let's go through and take a look here and see if there's any questions that I missed. Okay, so Philip Fleming had a question, and he said, "Can you comment about backlog of turntables?"
Hmm. Yeah, we have a backlog.
Kind of
And
like what we
again,
talked about earlier.
yeah, again, it's you know, we work with both ourselves and a partner. We don't manufacture all the turntable parts. It's in combination with ourselves and a company called Clear Audio. And obviously, they've got the same issues. They're feeling the pressure of supply as well as ourselves. And just be patient. I know it's difficult to say when you really want something badly, but we will be able to fulfill. It's just, and we play when you order and your dealer orders, it's basically first in, first out. So we don't play favorites. We love everybody the same, and we just try to get as much product out the door as possible. And our friends at Clear Audio are trying to help us in every way possible as well.
Well, and they make very high quality tables. I have a Clear Audio manufactured table from a different brand, and it's fantastic. So Clear Audio does extremely good work. It's just like you said, it's hard to keep up with the amount of demand. So the pandemic
Yep.
has been, obviously awful in so many reasons, in so many ways, but it's also, like you said, increased demand because people are more apt to stay at home and listen to music, spin more vinyl,
Every
watch more movies, rock and roll at home. I mean, I know that was
Yep.
one of my biggest drivers to getting my house set up so I don't have I
Yeah.
love concerts. If I can't go see a concert, I better be able to have one in my living room then. So it's kind of like, it's part of
I
the
think
thing.
I think it I think it all taught us a lesson that you know we all should be prepared to have to change our life in a minute. From a social butterfly to you know how to entertain yourself at home without having to go out to do it. Right.
Totally. Well, now things are opening back up, and so all my friends are going to be able to enjoy the system I built for them. So when they come
There you
over and
go.
watch movies or listen to music with me, so it's kind of cool. All right, let's see. Rob G had a question here. It says, "Will Macintosh release a solid state headphone amp without an integrated DAC?" Don't you have one already? Isn't the
I think he's talking about the MB50, I think, which is the small handheld one.
Oh,
We
okay.
have one. We have one called the MHA150, but it's a monster. It's
That's what I
actually
was
bigger than
thinking.
the
Yeah, the MHA
MHA200.
150 is the one I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna right now we're discussing in our product planning meetings as to what the next feature set would be for the MB50, and there is one part of the table wants to keep a lot of the current stuff, and the other part of the table wants to make it uh, how do I say it, less is more, kind of
Sure.
like the MHA200, right? So
Yep. All right. No Name has a question. Is there an idea of a small MA12000, a MA5300 with tube preamp?
um, so the MA252, MA352 would be the what you would choose to satisfy the MA5300. The only thing I can think is, unless the viewer or listener doesn't like the cosmetics of the 352, for instance, because it's got the meters on it, but it's more the retro, looks very similar to the MHA 200. Obviously, in a bigger chassis. MA12000, no consideration at this point to make a smaller version. Usually, to make a smaller version really doesn't cost that much less from McIntosh. When you think about, what comes out, we would obviously take out some features to lower the price, but it wouldn't. There's no way we could get to half the price, just to give you for instance, of the MA12000.
Okay. And then Reggie has a question. What would be the best option to connect a streamer to the MA12000 DA2 DAC? USB, optical, coax?
All are fine.
All of the above, right? Yeah.
All of the above. We do that primarily for convenience because some people have USB, some people don't. Me personally, I would tend to go with the USB, especially the newer USB, just because of resolution.
Cool. And then one more. Well, there's a couple questions actually. Christopher asked, and then also Andy. And you guys, I actually have that same question, so we're going to save that for the very end. So great job to both of you, Chris and Andy. But let's go to one more from Rob. And it says, in future models, can you make the tube green LED lights switchable on and off?
They are.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought they were capable of doing that through the system.
Well, depends on which unit. So some of them are, some of them aren't.
Got it. Okay. All right. So let's wrap up with a fun one, which will also answer Christopher and Andy's question. So I recently got a pair of Sonus Faber Olympica Nova 5s in-house to demo, which I'm super impressed with, not just in the sound, but also, oh my God, they're just so beautiful. Like, I'm Italian, so I guess, I don't know, there was something about it. I just had a moment, I don't know. I had a little tear come to my eye. I was very excited.
You don't even have to be Italian to appreciate the look of Sonus Faber.
Not at all. I just felt benevolence towards them, because I guess being Italian. So, and I'm gonna play a quick video for you guys at home. This is kind of a surpriser of those real quick, so you guys can see them. And then we'll come back and we're gonna ask Charlie about his system and what he has at home and what he enjoys listening to or watching movies through, which was some of your guys' question. So hang tight and we'll put this on for you right here. All right. God, they're so beautiful. I was watching them. I'm like, I can't wait to go listen to them. I just get like goosebumps. I'm already excited to think about listening to them more today. So tell us a little bit about your system at home, and what do you enjoy listening to as far as either home cinema or two channel?
Yeah, so I have a couple different systems. I have a um, called a guest house. We call it the barn, but it's not a barn. We don't keep animals in it. It's a guest house. In there's where I have the home theater. So that's XRT 1Ks. I want the 1.1Ks, but I won't take them before my customers are fulfilled first. 1.25Ks for amplification, and then XCS 1K for the center channel with a 1.25K on that, and then MX123 for the home theater processor, and then surrounds. I can't run surrounds, so I have to do 3.1. The issue is it's a cathedral ceiling. The ceiling's about 28 feet high, and
Ooh,
it's sloped down an angle like that, so it's not conducive for surround speakers. So we make do with the 3.1 system, but the XRT 1Ks and 1.25Ks are more than enough to give us our satisfying movie enjoyment. And then in the house, I run a C53 and MC462 and a pair of XR100s because it's an old style farmhouse, so the rooms are relatively small. And then in the porch area on the back, it's a four season room. I've got MA12000 prototype. I didn't short my customers, and a pair of XR50s in that room, and then a couple of RS200s, which is the predecessor or the older model of the RS250, which is still running the DTS Play-Fi app. I'll upgrade those to 250s here in the near future. Oh, and then you guys will laugh at this. My garage system is a MA7200 with a Bluetooth streamer, and that services rock speakers outside and two all-weather speakers on the back porch and CS200 in ceiling speakers in the garage.
awesome. I love it. Somebody from the Source AV just chimed in. I can't say who it is, but
I can
this
guess.
individual said, ask him about his love for power. Does he also love muscle cars? Actually, we did talk about his love for muscle cars. Um,
Yeah.
yep.
Hi,
So
Jason.
that's funny. And then Tom Powers has a compliment. Love my McIntosh system and all the people at McIntosh. Great products, Buffalo Tom. That's awesome. Great shout out.
Thanks, Tom.
Awesome. Well, I just want to thank you again so much for coming on with us. I really appreciate it. I know you're super busy, and I think the community just loves this type of stuff. And, for you to take the time out to do it really means a lot to us at TSAV and all of the people that love your brand. And if you guys out there haven't subscribed yet to this YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe today. Smash the like button for us, and you will see more future videos, live streams, and product presentations. So, with that, I don't have anything else. Do you want to say anything else to the group?
No, just thank you very much and appreciate your support and also your patience during this time when we're, so busy. It's a very fortunate time, and it's, you know, it's a high class problem, but it's still a problem. We are very in tune with what we need to do to get our act together to get more product out. One thing we didn't talk about is we're doing we've done quite a few major investments to increase the production, but we're actually putting on a 7,000 square foot addition on the west side of the building to house the brand new metal shop, which is one of our bottlenecks right now. And we just made, well, between the equipment that's going in and the building, it's almost a $2 million investment. And
Wow.
you know, for a company the size of McIntosh, that's pretty significant, and it
Yeah.
will give us a lot more flexibility and also a lot more cooler tools to play with to make even better and more unique products. hang with us, stay tuned, and we'll get there. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll have to do this again, and I'm looking forward to getting some of your integrated and power amplifiers in the house to demo with these speakers. So, oh, actually, what would you recommend? What would be the McIntosh amp that you would be like for the Olympica Nova 5s? You should really listen to this, Marcello. What would you recommend?
If you're a solid state guy, MC462.
Okay.
It's by far the, you know, it's our for that size of speaker, it's perfect. If you were to go up a size, then I'd say move up to 611s. Vacuum tube side, I'd probably run um, either the 1502, and if you want to push the power above the 150 watt side, which knowing you probably would.
Wouldn't mind it.
I would do two 1502s and run them in mono.
Okay,
So
cool.
basically treat them like two
Awesome.
mono blocks.
I love it. Mark, I'm going to be reaching out to you, Mark. He's probably watching. He's like, oh, man. But yeah. So
Anytime,
thank
anytime.
you again, man. I really appreciate this, Charlie. Thank you so much, and thank you to all of you out there for all your great questions and joining us today. And this will be on our channel, so you can watch it if you didn't get to catch it live on the replay. And we're gonna close out with a video. And thank you all, Charlie. Again, thank you, and everybody have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.